Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. As I'm filming this, it is 2021. As you're watching it, it's 2022. So welcome to the new year. Today's tutorial is going to be a little bit different. We thought it might be helpful for those who are new to Sola wood flowers to have all of the frequently asked questions, the little tips and tricks, all in one video instead of them being spread out across our YouTube channel. Those videos will be around, so if you want to watch them individually, you're more than welcome to. But today, we're going to put them all together. We're going to talk about dying flowers, stemming flowers, greenery. We're even going to do a small, simple arrangement to get you started on your Sola wood flower journey. Oh yeah, we are. And if you're not new around here and have been getting our tutorials on a weekly basis for the last year or two, stick around, because I bet we might show you a thing or two that you hadn't seen before. Maybe. Who knows? You'll have to watch to find out. So let's jump into it. You guys, so today's tutorial, like I said, is a little bit different. We're gonna smush it all in. So the first thing that we're gonna work on is dip dyeing the flowers, one of the most common ways to dye the flowers, as well as the easiest. You're gonna need a little bit of water, you're gonna need a little bit of paint, and a little bit of glycerin. So go grab all of those supplies, meet me right back here, and we'll get to creating. First things first, we're gonna get our hands dirty. For sure. If you would prefer, you can put gloves on. I never do, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to. So what we're gonna need to dip dye our flowers, and this is the easiest way to get started into Sola wood flowers and coloring the flowers. I'm gonna use craft acrylic paint. You do not need to use craft acrylic paint if you don't want to. Latex paint works great, as well as we've now played around with liquid watercolors. We've played with all sorts of different art mediums. The two most common that are used though, however, are craft acrylic paint and latex paint. Both have their pros and cons. So craft acrylic paint is the way I'm gonna go for this tutorial. You're also going to need something to put your paint in. I have my handy dandy water bottle here. We're gonna do a 1-to-1 ratio of paint to water. And then we are gonna add something, and this was not in our original video because that was eons ago, technically 3 years, but eons ago. We're gonna add glycerin to the mix as well. The breakdown of what it comes to, and if you want to watch the full glycerin tutorial, we have one that answers pretty much all of the questions about glycerin. It's about 1 part glycerin to 8 parts of the water paint mixture. So just a little bit of glycerin goes a very long way when it comes to dyeing these flowers. All right, enough of me explaining what we're gonna do. We're going to start mixing our dye right now. One of the other questions we get asked about is, what if I have paint left over? Can I still use it? You can. You're gonna wanna store it in a container that has a lid to it. Now I'm eyeballing. You can full on measure if you want. Some of the things to note about when dip dyeing, if the mixture, I kind of want it not milky, you want it a little bit thicker than that. If the color is too light, add more paint. If it's like dripping in paint and it's really thick, add a little bit more water. The more paint you have and the less water, there's a better chance for the flowers to get a little bit crunchy, and that's also why we add that glycerin. So anything and everything is fixable, figure outable, all those things, depending on how you mixed up your paint mixture. We're gonna add in a little bit of the glycerin. And again, I eyeball, but go easy on the glycerin. You add too much, the flowers always feel like they're wet and they never fully dry. And that's no fun. That's no fun at all. And there's not really a good fix for that. You can always add more glycerin. You can even spray it down with a water glycerin mix after you dye the flowers if they feel a little crunchy to the touch for you. But if you add too much glycerin, there's no going back. All right, so we've got that really well mixed. And I'm gonna show you a couple different things. I like to dry my flowers on an egg carton. Simple Simon, if you don't have an egg carton. Some people like to use puppy pads. Some people like to use like cookie racks of some sort, and that's perfect. I didn't do a tester. You can do a tester. If you're gonna do testers, I usually get like the minis and test them that way, or say you get an assortment and there's a flower that you're not really loving or digging, use that as your tester. But I'm really happy with this color, and I'll tell you what it is in just a second, because somebody's gonna ask me. And this is from Deco Art Americana, and it is blush pink. There we go. Now, you can, if you get a flower that's, the shape is not what you're loving 100%, like this one's got a funky petal there, it's a little squished and a little flat right there. You can shape the flowers either by spritzing them down with a little bit of water from a spray bottle, or you can reshape them while they're in their dye mixture. So we're going to pop that in there. And once it's wet, it makes those petals more manageable, flexible, all those different words. So we're just going to reshape that. And it is handy when you're doing this to have a paintbrush available to you so that you can get into those little crevices of the petals and really get all of that paint everywhere you want it to be. And this one's lots of layers of petals, so I'm just slowly going so I don't rip any of them. Oh, storage of paint. We got on a tangent and never came back to that one. You can store the paint. I will say though, after a couple of days, if you open up your thing and it smells a little funky, the paint has gone bad and you're gonna wanna dispose of it properly. But otherwise, if you dye a bunch of flowers and you still have some paint left over that you wanna save for another day, you absolutely can. And you'll know when it's bad. Like, it just doesn't smell right. But you won't know it until you smell that smell. That's kind of where we're at with that. All right. Okay, feel good about that one. So we're gonna let that dry. And sometimes when we dip dye our flowers, it completely changes the shape. Now this one in particular, I love when this one opens up, so I'm okay with that. If you have a couple roses that start to, especially it seems to be the roses very often, if you have some that are opening up or uncurling, we do have a tutorial all about that, and using different mediums in order to try to help that. Even hairspray sometimes will help keep the shape. So I will make sure to link that video. We're not gonna do that here because that was like a full experiment. So there we go, last flower done. So now we're gonna sit these for 24 hours so that they are completely dry. You want to wait until your flowers are fully dry before you're stemming them or using them in a project, as well as if you're dyeing flowers before a big event and you wanna store them, you can store them after you've dyed them, but you wanna wait until they are fully dry, and then you wanna store them in something that is open air, that airflow can come through. These flowers are made from wood, and if given a chance, if they're stuck in something that has a lot of moisture, water, wood, don't mix in terms of mold can start growing. So you wanna make sure that they are fully dry before you are storing them. And then for safety, just to be a little extra cautious, store them in something that has a good amount of airflow. All right, awesome. On to the next thing, which is stemming the flowers. All right, my hands are basically clean. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stem the flowers. It's super easy. You're going to need floral wire. We do carry this at ohyourlovely.com. I personally prefer an 18 gauge, but it comes down to a personal preference, 18 gauge, 20 gauge. Basically, the lower the number, the thicker the wire, the higher the number, the thinner the wire, and the more bendy it is. You also may use paddle wire. What else? For the most part, paddle wire or wire stems are what I use for pretty much 99.9% of my projects. It just depends though on the project and what you're trying to achieve. So we're going to show you how to do this with the floral wire stems. Again, super easy. So I'm gonna walk you through what I'm gonna do, as I'm doing it. And we'll also talk about one other little thing that you can do with the flowers, depending on how they come to you. So the first one, this is probably the easiest flower to stem, and that's our American Beauty. You're gonna see on the back, we're gonna put our wire right there. I like to first do what I call a pre-hole. So I'm gonna put my wire in there so I know where it's gonna go. Makes it easier for when I get my hot glue. I prefer hot glue. I use a power glue gun and put it on the hot setting, so be careful, but it works really well. Woo! There, that's it. We're done with one flower. Now for something a little different, still very easy, but sometimes you'll get a flower that has a little tail to it, a little butt, if you will. All of the Sola flowers are held together with a tiny little string. I don't know if you can see that. So you want to be aware of where the string is, because you don't want to cut off the string, but sometimes when there's a tail, it's a little bit harder to get the stem like where you want it to be. So we're going to cut this off to make it flush. And this one would actually be probably pretty easy to stem as is, but just in case, so that we have an example. All right, cut that off. There we go. Again, we're going to pre-hole. Don't put your stem in your glue gun. I do that out of habit and I have not stopped. If you go too far and you see that you've like poked through, before it fully dries, you can pull that wire back out a little bit. None the wiser. There you go. Stemming is done. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is Greenery. And when you purchase Greenery, we do carry a very large and growing collection of Greenery now at oyourlovely.com. But when you get your Greenery, just if it comes as is, you do not have to use it exactly how it arrived to you. You can clip all these different stems. You can take this Greenery, and depending on how it was made, you can slide everything up and give yourself a lot of a bottom wire. You can leave it as is. You can even take these off individually and stem them up, which is what I'm going to show you in just a second. You can also take and clip off smaller parts and then wire those up as well. And then sometimes the Greenery comes with a little finishing piece, kind of. It doesn't go all the way through. And these two, we can stem up, no problem. So let's go through all of the different options. I'm gonna get my handy dandy wire clippers. First thing, simplest of all of them, just clipping them off individually and using them as this. Now you can also, if you wanted to individually stem up all of these pieces of Greenery, for example, this one goes all the way through. We're going to take our wire, we're going to slide it through like so. We're gonna fold it over, and then we're going to grab our needle nose pliers. Now, I never used to do this, but now I do. I always secure it. So I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, watching my fingers, and I'm just going to pinch it in place. You can then, at the end of this, finish this off with a little bit of floral tape if you want, but in all honesty, I hardly ever do that. Another option is if you've cut off a smaller part and you don't have a very long stem and you want to get this whole thing in a piece. It's a similar type of situation. You take wherever you're going to connect your wire, so to speak, and I'm going to kind of pop it in there. So right in there, we're going to pop that in. Same thing, we're going to fold it. And these for sure I would suggest securing into place. Now every once in a while, these will pop off. You usually can just set it back in place. But now it's a little flimsy. This would be more help, like you can take your wire and wrap it around, or again, use that floral tape to secure it. I find that once it's in the arrangement, it's completely fine. But if you wanted to secure it a little bit more, you definitely can. And the last thing that we can do is when it has a piece like this, where it's got a little, hello, camera, there we go. All right, we're going to take our handy dandy hot glue. Be careful of your cute little fingers. Do not burn yourself because it will hurt. We're gonna add a little bit of glue onto our wire. We're gonna slide that in place. We're gonna let it sit for a second to fully cure, and then you're good to go to use it in your projects. So there you have it. All of the different ways that you can use, repurpose, stretch out your greenery and how to prep it before your arrangement. Now, the fun part. Everything is ready to go. We are going to make a very simple arrangement to get your feet wet in the lovely world of Sola with flowers. All right, so I have my container that I'm going to use for this arrangement, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put everything directly into the container. We're not gonna make it beforehand, we're gonna make it in there, and then we can pull it out, and it's a bouquet. It's like magic. Let me tell you, instead of a rabbit out of the vase, it's a bouquet out of the vase. The flowers I'm going to be using, our newest lovely dyed assortment, X's and O's. XOXO, I think, is actually the name on the website. But it's a pretty little like Valentine's Day mix of pinks, burgundies, cream, and red flowers. So that's what we're gonna use. For the greenery, I have a mixture of a few different things. I have some light pink eucalyptus. This is not in the shop right now, I don't believe, but hopefully we'll be able to get it again soon. I have our Italian ruscus, our wide ruscus, as well as these beautiful little tiny white flowers, which we just showed how to stem those up. So I'm gonna be using these as individual stems. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, now these greenery, they've been cut in different spots. That's fine. You could cut all of them. I'm actually gonna keep these stems down because I really want it to sit nicely in my vase like that. See that? But what we're gonna do is I'm going to, this one is not cut in any way. I'm gonna mix these two together. We're gonna have a little party here. So I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna slide this one in here. And then we're gonna just gonna adjust. We're gonna mingle, if you will. So those are mingling. Perfect. Then what we're gonna do is I only have 2 of these, unfortunately. I wish I had maybe one more, but that's all right. We're gonna bring that in there. Okay. This one's great because it actually has 3 there. In all honesty, in the sake of triangles, we could just use that 3-piece and have it out there, but oh, this one has 2. All right, there we go. Then what we're gonna do, now sometimes I add this last, oh, that was the other thing. I grabbed some little pink bunny tails. We'll probably add those in there as well. Sometimes I add this last once the flowers are in place, and sometimes I add it before the flowers. Today, it's before the flowers. That one I'm gonna keep high. The rest are gonna go kind of more flush into our arrangement. So I am gonna have to trim down some of the wires because they're a little bit long for what we're doing. Mess this up, I promise. All right, so I feel good about all of that and where we're at. Bunny tails, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna put those in last. So now we're gonna do the flowers. I do have 3 of each style flower. And what I'll do is I'm gonna start with my largest one. Why? I don't know, that's just how I'm gonna do it today. And I'm gonna make triangles throughout the entire piece. Or I'm gonna try to. We're gonna attempt to. Sometimes it doesn't always work the way we want. What I mean by triangles is I'll show you in 1 second after I've added these lovely flowers. This should be pretty self-explanatory though. In terms of like the spacing, so I've got 2, we're gonna do 1 right over there. Boom, we've got triangles. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the opposite, but I'm gonna do it with the darker color. I'm not gonna do the other pink one right now. I want to break that up a little bit. So I'm going to continue. I might not use, well, I really do love the Sophias, so I'll use the Sophias. I'm trying to debate where I want to put those because those colorings are so close to the other pink. I'm gonna put one right in the center. This is where our triangles might fail me. We'll see. So I definitely still see a ton of pink. So I'm gonna break that up because our bottom, the burgundy, is sitting around the bottom. So we're gonna pop the red in there to break up some of the pink that's going on up at the top. And again though, we're gonna still do our triangles. So I'm gonna there and right here. There we go. So now we have a eye-pleasing, happy, look, we missed something. Hold on, where'd you go? You're supposed to stay in the bouquet. There we go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, we'll add bunny tails now. And then we're going to finish off the bouquet. I made what I like to refer to as a 360 arrangement. Basically, you can twirl it around every which way, and there's something to look at on all sides that makes us happy. And it's great for like a round table or something like that. Some of the other styles I refer to as like a flat back, where the back is sitting flush up against something and you don't really look at that side, or it's a front facing arrangement. The bunny tails can be a little tricky in this part. Typically they don't break, but as you saw, one already broke. But they're pretty hardy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab it by the base, we're gonna pull it up, and now I'm gonna adjust slightly in a couple places wherever I feel like something kind of moved or grooved that I don't wanna move or groove. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our zip tie the right way. Wrong way. So let's redo that. Rewind. And then I have this handy dandy zip tie gun that comes, oh, I probably can't say that word on YouTube. I have this zip tie thingamajig that comes in handy quite a bit, and you just keep until it gets to the cutting off the tightest point it can go. It cuts it off automatically. Simple Simon, perfect. And I feel like we're sitting pretty in here, so I don't need to shorten up on any of my stems. You definitely can if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary for this one, so I'm not going to. Then to finish this off, all I'm gonna do is wrap a ribbon around it, then gift it as is in the piece, but then say somebody, they decide they don't want that vase anymore, they can still take this bouquet and use it for something else, or you could use whatever vase that you're gonna use at a event, if you will. Make it based off of that event, and then they can use that as their bouquet and then have a perfect spot to put it when they're not holding on to it. Simple Simon. So let's get a ribbon. And this is just one of many, many, many ways to finish off a handle for a bouquet. We have a whole blog post about that if you ever would like to see some of the different ways to do this. I am not going to use any glue for this, but you definitely can. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start wrapping, making sure that I get a good loop around the start of my ribbon. And I'm using a thicker ribbon because of that zip tie. Sometimes those do poke through a little bit. So I'm going to want to make sure I get this fully wrapped. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and then come back up around. And now I have this cute little scarf, and I'm going to trim it up to the length that I want, which I would like it to be right about. Oh, I don't have my ribbon scissors, can you tell? I'm going to get yelled at. That's fine. Everything's fine. And there you have it. It's now finished to go back in the jar. How easy was that? I couldn't even talk about it. It was so easy. How easy was that? Well, there you have it. a tutorial that shows you how to dye the flowers, how to stem the flowers, how to prep your greenery, and how to make a very simple but beautiful bouquet. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Again, if you're new around here and you have some questions, you can always feel free to comment down below. You can message us over on Facebook, or you can also email us at info@ohyourlovely.com. We'll try to answer your questions as best as possible. We also do have a Facebook group page that is amazing, full of over 5,000 people now who are so, they're just lovely. And they're happy to share their wealth of knowledge in that group as well, and cheer people on and help with coloring and constructive criticism if you want it. It's just a great group, so you can also join that if you'd like. We'd love to have you. I think that's everything. Pretty sure. So let's do the normal end of wrap up. If you're new around here, loving these videos, can't get enough, want to know when the next one goes live, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. To find out about the 150 style Sola wood flowers along with craft supplies and greenery, go to ohyourlovely.com. And if you'd like to give the flowers a try, I'd like to give you a coupon. Why not? I'm nice like that. Use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off your first order. All right, you guys, have a lovely, lovely day. Thank you so much for joining. For those who've watched the last couple of years, I love you. You have no idea. Thank you so much. And for those who are new around here and you stumbled upon us, hi, welcome. I hope this tutorial was super simple, helpful, encourages you, because it is, I know it always seems a little overwhelming at first, especially if you're new to a new craft or hobby. But I will tell you, once you get going, it's a unbelievably fun ride, and you're gonna enjoy it so much. And check out all of our other videos. There's a collection now. All right, you guys, we'll see you super soon. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, and you, my friends, are absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.